Welcome to my channel. This is Lana. Thank you so much for being here. I'm honored that you're here. I wanted to do this video to talk about the spiritual tools, or what we call spiritual tools, through the spiritual journey or through the awakening or ascension journey. And I also want to touch base with the energies that we have been going through. I know many of you felt the intense energies of the last full moon and the eclipse. So we had a lot of release. We are for me, it's kind of like a gestation period where we are about to be reborn. But we are undergoing an immense amount of transformation, and each light waves that come in, each frequency, each gamma ray, each activation that we're receiving from these celestial portals are kind of like layers. You could see it as different colors of frequencies, different wavelengths, and they represent different colors. And each activation that we have, and this is particularly why I love to work with the rainbow ray, because it allows your body to integrate each aspect of the rainbow, so each wavelength that it needs, each color that it needs, in order to function properly. So all of these waves that we are receiving, they are acting in us at a multidimensional level. So as I have said before in previous videos, the way I work and the way I perceive energy is at different levels, and I see the physical body as a part of the entirety of the energetic bodies that we actually have. So of course these waves impact us through the physical vessel, and many may be feeling very tired or having problems sleeping. When we're integrating, two things can happen. One is that we are over-energized and we have too much energy and we cannot sleep, or we are integrating so much energy that our body starts to function at a slower rate. So we feel very tired and with the need of a lot of rest and to drink a lot of water. So the more you can support your body at this time, I highly recommend that. And also, if you have too much energy, try to find ways to release this excess energy. So doing something like sport or swimming, doing something where you can really move your body, dancing, things like that will really help to take the excess energy out of your system, and will help you integrate better all the things that we are receiving. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about some concepts that might be a little abstract to some of you, and to some of you you're very familiar with them. So I wanted to talk about a part in us that we usually, when we are starting in the journey, we tend to look outward for confirmation or for a sign that we are on the right path, or we try to look for spiritual teachers so that we have some kind of knowledge or some kind of certainty about the path that we chose to take. And this is really common and very normal, and it is very good because we have soul contracts with other people and other beings who are incarnated on this earth to help us in those moments, to assist us and to guide us. But there's also a part of the awakening that is the self-initiation. And this is something that I really emphasize, and I really talk about it gladly in all my videos, because it is the most important part of the process of being in a spiritual journey of awakening. Because without that self-initiation, you're kind of like at the mercy of anything else outside of you. And the whole point of the spiritual journey is that you become whole from within, and that you become your own light and your own guide, and that you establish a connection to your higher self, to divinity, and that you source the energy that you need from that part of you, from your own divine connection, and that you receive the messages, the insight, the knowledge, the help, and everything that you need for your journey from that connection. But of course, when we are starting in the journey, we sometimes need teachers, and we need confirmation, or we need help from people who have been on the journey longer, or who have overcome some of the issues that you may be facing. And in this is also the law of attraction, and how we resonate with certain people, and how our divine intelligence is so great that it brings us to the perfect teacher, to the perfect teachings, to the knowledge that we are seeking. And especially now, at a time where the internet has so much information, where we can really find a lot of support. But in that information, we can also find a lot of things that are not really aligned, and we can also find things that aren't really resonating with us. So here's the part where the self-initiation and the differentiation of the discernment of energies is really important. So as you become more aware of your own energy, you have to start practicing to become aware of how the energy around you makes you feel, how the energy of other people makes you feel, and to start noticing these subtleties and these changes in energy. So it's kind of like when we first start using all of the parts of our tongue to taste the different flavors in food. So there are parts that start awakening before, like the sweet taste is the first one that is awakened. And as we grow, we start liking the taste of the other different flavors, so like sour or salty things. And the one that gets developed the latest is the bitter one. So this is kind of a nice metaphor. So we start feeling and tuning into our own energy, but we also start feeling, okay, what resonates with me and what doesn't. What I have seen out there is that through the twin flame journey, there's a lot of information, and there is a lot of manipulation of this information and manipulation of the energy through that information that is put out there. So I know many of you enjoy readings, like tarot readings, and I love tarot readings too. I think tarot readings are a wonderful tool, and they are also, like any divination tools, are wonderful to, when you start awakening your own gifts, to start getting your own guidance. And for me, I actually started using tarot cards and other divination tools when I had too much information coming in, and when I was receiving too many messages, and I wasn't really able to stop it. So I would be receiving messages and information about people all the time when I was in the streets, when I would meet someone new, and I was constantly getting information, and I got very overwhelmed. Because one thing is to get the information that I need, for example, when I'm working with a patient, when their higher self starts giving me information through the heart space, and I receive guidance about what needs to be asked and what needs to be done, and where his soul actually, or their soul actually is, and what's the most beneficial for them. It's one thing to receive these kind of messages while in session, than like in the day-to-day basis in my normal life when I'm out of session. And at that time, that happened about, I think it was like 3 years ago or so. And I'm not sure why it happened, but I was receiving a lot of information. And it was actually about the time when I was awakened to the whole twin flame concept. And from there on, I started to investigate and to come into my own knowing about it, and to start to investigate it at an energetic level. So this is also what I teach, and this is also what my twin flame concept is about, and how I perceive it, how I personally, as the soul, perceive this whole concept and these whole energetics. For me, it's an energetic thing. So I started receiving a lot of messages, but I was pretty uncomfortable at one point because I wasn't able to tune it out. So I wasn't able to listen to my own voice because I was receiving so much information from everyone that I was interacting with. And so I talked to one of my really, really good friends. She lives in Germany. She's a wonderful medium. She's incredibly clairvoyant and clairsentient, and I have known her for a long time. And we were always sharing things about our journeys. So she recommended to me that I start, because she uses divination tools as a support for her clairvoyance, but she doesn't base her readings or and the information she receives, she doesn't base it solely on these tools. But she told me that because I was receiving so much information, that it would be really good if I would practice with tarot cards, just to start like practicing how to tune in and tune out. So how to turn on my clairvoyance and turn it off. And this was extremely helpful to me. I did it as a practice, as a spiritual practice every day, where I would really put my intention to only receive messages while I was connecting to the cards. So in that way, I started to be able to turn on and off my part of receiving, of being that receptive. Because that receptivity also involves certain vulnerability. It involves to feel the emotions of the other people. It involves to see things that sometimes aren't so pleasant. It involves feeling a lot of things. And for any one of you who is clairvoyant, you know that you have to have a very solid foundation in your physical body, in your spirituality, and in your energy, to be able to hold the messages and to be able to transmute anything that is not yours, that is coming from the other person, and also to be able to interpret the messages and to deliver them without any attachment, and to deliver them in the most clear and high way. So it's really a process, and it's not something that happens overnight, and it can happen very quickly, and the development can happen very quickly when you start seeing things, when you start receiving messages or becoming more intuitive. But in order for you to be able to truly anchor the knowledge and the messages and to really be able to serve through that, to serve a purpose through clairvoyance, it needs a process. It needs a process through your body, through your energetics, and it needs to it's kind of like your physical body needs to adjust to this new energy that is coming in, but your energetic body has to adjust as well, and they have to be working together in order to be able to receive the messages and to be able to make sense of them. And also we have to work a lot on self-love and self-confidence to really be able to trust, to develop faith and trust in the divine, that you are receiving the messages that you are meant to receive. So this is a really beautiful subject. It's one of my favorite subjects. But it was also, when I started the journey, it was also something that was very complicated in the beginning and even one of the most scariest things for me personally, because I started seeing many things since I was very little. And when I was little, when I was a child, when I was 2-3 years old, I didn't understand what I was seeing. I didn't understand the dreams that I was having. I was having dreams of, the crucifixion of Jesus when I was like 3 years old, and very, very heavy things. So this was part of my learning process, and this was part of what started to anchor in since I was very, very young. But it was also something that really made me doubt many things, and it really made me afraid of my spiritual connection and my spiritual powers. So, always where there is light, because we are in a world where there is still duality, and we're moving every day, we're moving forward into a place of light, of integrating the shadows, so there is no more duality. But meanwhile, while we're here still, and as souls, we have incarnated so many times, we have lived through so many things, and we have been witnesses of incredible things through human history and through galactic history, that we have many imprints and impressions of that. And especially when we are young, when we are little, our soul, even though it's in a very small vessel, our soul is as old as it is now. So we can tend to process things even through our unconscious mind while we are small children, that have nothing to do with this life, that have to do with past lifetimes. And especially the indigo children, which is kind of part of my generation, I have seen that they really have had tough times, because they're very old souls, but they come in and they are they have to integrate all of this knowledge as soon and as fast as possible, so they can really step into their mission and start helping and adjusting and being the light workers that indigos usually are. So, and well, this is not only true for indigos. We are all in a way, we're all light workers, but there are some of us that are more inclined to be healers. There are some of us that are more inclined to be way showers, to be spokespersons. There are some that are more likely to be inspirations for other people, to be famous, to so everyone has their own unique mission and purpose, but if you are a healer, you will be faced with a lot of hurt and a lot of things to heal, basically, for you to master them and to be able to heal others. So basically this is how it works. And also most of the things that you heal in you those are the patients that come to you, or those are the people and the souls that come to you or that are attracted to you because of what you overcame. So this is also something so beautiful and so so divinely orchestrated. But in the process, of this of receiving these wonderful gifts, they also come with the counterpart. So they also come with a part of overcoming and a part of learning. So, sometimes people tell me, oh, I want to expand my clairvoyance, I want to see this, I want to see that. And sometimes I ask, are you sure you want to see that? Because with seeing, you will see not only the good things, so you will see everything, right? The vision is complete. It has to be complete, and we have to be able to integrate the shadow of what we see into the light as well. So when I was awakening these gifts in me, I saw a lot of things that I really wished I had never seen in my life, and they scared me like crazy. So I even came to a point where I really didn't want to see anything anymore, and I talked to God and I said, God, please, I don't understand what I'm seeing. And this I think it was like 7 years old. And I said, I don't understand what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of things that really make me afraid, and I rather not see the good things. I rather not see anything, but I really don't want to see the bad things. I really don't want to see these things that scared me like crazy. And because for me, the good things were that I saw my angels, right? So I saw my guardians and my spiritual teachers since I was a kid, and I would see them. I saw them a lot of. I would see them in my room, or when I was taking a walk in the trees, and I also saw them as animals. So, my parents thought I had a very incredible imagination and fantasy when I was little. But I was actually having conversations with these beings, and I got to understand many things, and I always felt supported, and I always felt taken care of. And I also saw these guardians and these angels. I saw them after this period when I told God, I'd rather not see anything. Literally from one day to another, I stopped seeing. I stopped having this clairvoyance all the time. And I went into my teenage years, and it completely went away. I was still pretty much empathic and very sensitive to everything, but I wasn't seeing and communicating with beings from other places, right? But through these years when I didn't see them, I had, I think, like 3 surgeries, different surgeries at different times. So one when I was 5, one when I was like 16, and one when I was 18. And in all of these surgeries, while I was in anesthesia, I saw the same beings again that I had always been. And I was like, hey, I remember you. You were with me all the time when I was little. And they were like, yeah, we're the same ones. So anyway, this is just a little part of, like, a little taste of what was my experience. But the point is that after these years that I didn't see anything, when I started to develop my healing capacities, and when I started meditating, when I was 18 again, when I was 17, this was when everything came back online, and it came like with everything. It wasn't something that gradual, it came online. But what was gradual was a process for me to assimilate all of the things that I was receiving. So I know many of you that are in the awakening journey, you have felt like different sensations in your body. This is kind of like the confirmation of your physical vessel that something is happening. So when you meditate, you might feel like a tingle in your head, or you may feel your crown, you may feel like a hole, or you may feel energies moving around your body, or you may feel hot or cold sensations, or you may feel the energy of the places, or you may feel the quality of the energy of some things or of some people. And this starts to happen more and more the more you continue to expand and to expand your connection to the divine. And of course, also, no one who doesn't want to be clairvoyant will be given the gift. And like for me, when I decided that I really didn't know how to handle it and I didn't want it, it just went away. I talked to God and I was like, I'm not ready for this. And these gifts come when you are really ready. And if your intention is to serve and to do something with these gifts, because in the end, we're all working together and we all have a mission. And these gifts are not going to come to someone who, first of all, doesn't know how to use them, or doesn't have the capacity, or doesn't have the capacity and isn't willing to learn. And they're also not going to come to someone who who will take advantage of people, or take advantage through those gifts to people. So this is a little the point that I'm getting at. With these gifts and these spiritual gifts, there comes a big responsibility, because you can't be walking around telling people what you see just for the sake of sharing that you have clairvoyance, for example. This is kind of like the difference between a spiritual person who has done their spiritual work and who is on a path of serving and who has matured enough, and someone who is completely immature, spiritually or emotionally even, and has these gifts and pretends to have these gifts in order to get something out of it or to manipulate people. So I personally feel that true clairvoyance and true knowing and true intuition come from a lot of hard work of integrating the gifts, and they also come from a lot of trials and tests, and they also come from the pure heart's desire to serve and to help other people. So it is in my personal experience that all the true clairvoyants that I know who are serving, they have had long journeys in order to understand and to use their gifts, and they are humble people. They have been humbled through the journey or before they already were, but somehow the intention of their gifts and the way they use them is through a pure heart. And that is why they have clients, and that is why they have patients, and that is why people go to them. But there are people who claim to have these gifts, and there are people who claim to be very in tuned, and maybe they have some kind of guidance, maybe they have, and they connect to something, to an energy, but the divine and God's energy and the source energy, and if you're connecting to your own divinity and your source light energy, it's the purest energy there is, and the energy translates to love, to unconditional love. So when you meet someone who is channeling or who is connecting to divinity, to the divine, to their own higher self, and who's really tapped in, and who is a clear channel, who takes care of their energy, who is connected to only the higher realms, who has done a profound work of healing, that person will always transmit peace. That person will always bring messages of faith, of hope, of healing. And even if there are things that they may say that you may not like, they won't ever make you feel bad or sad or worthless, you know? I mean, we all have our way of processing emotions and of processing things, but the type of energy that comes from a person who is really receiving from the divine is a divine energy, is divinity, is love, is grace, is compassion, it's forgiveness, it's understanding, it's a new point of view that you hadn't even thought about. And it will always bring you to a safe place. It will always make you feel safe, make you feel held, and make you feel understood. Even if the messages, or even if the lesson is hard, or even if it's something that your ego doesn't really like to hear, but it will be something that your soul will like to hear and will be thankful for. So if you ever meet or receive messages from someone who makes you feel angry, who makes you feel fear, who makes you be in a state of anxiety, or brings like depression to you, or brings all of these lower vibrational energies, you can know and you can take it as a sign of what this person, where this person is channeling from, and what kind of energy that person is channeling, and also what kind of agenda they have. So I know that through the awakening journey there are parts where we really need answers and we really want to know, and our ego self is really trying to understand and to cope with all the big changes that are happening so rapidly. But please, if you have questions like that, if you are in a vulnerable place, be sure to know who you ask help for, who you ask help, who you go for guidance, and who you trust with your vulnerability. Because I have seen, and it has been kind of brought to my attention lately, that there are people who are kind of preying on this vulnerability in newly awakened souls, or in souls that are discovering their journeys. And this is something that I really stand against. Like I have never, from all of the things in the world, when anything or anyone takes advantage of innocence and takes advantage of vulnerability, for me that's like the lowest thing kind of that you can do, because we are here as light workers and as awakened souls to protect innocence, to restore balance, to protect the divinity in all of us, and to protect our own innocence and our own heart. Our innocence is the representation of our hearts, and now more than ever we are coming into a new era where we are going to be more connected to our hearts, and where we're going to be honoring our hearts and our love and our unconditional love. So this part is something that I really advise to you, and I hope you take this with you, to know that any light worker, any clairvoyant, any true clairvoyant, any true any person who has these gifts and who is really serving from the heart, they will never make you feel bad. They will never make you feel helpless or hopeless. They will never tell you anything about like bring messages of fear or of control or of dependence or of lack. This is something that just doesn't work that way. We as light workers, as healers, we are here to heal. We are here to restore. We are here to bring faith and to bring hope and to bring and to anchor the light. So we would never use darkness in order to anchor the light. That's not the way it works. We only use light in order to anchor more light, and in order to for the darkness to be integrated and to be moved away if it needs to move away, or if it needs to transform and integrate into the light. In order to transmute the shadows, we bring the light, we bring more light. So just take this as my advice, my personal advice, and always feel your heart and your soul when you are asking for guidance and where you are working, especially spiritually. Okay? And if you have any questions about that, you can always ask me. I am here for you. This is also why I opened this channel and why I made myself available for a broader public or a broader audience, in order to be able to bring these messages to the majority of you as possible, right? Okay, so this was something that I really wanted to say. And let me see, we still have some time to... Okay, we're running over. Okay, so I will leave you with this message, and I will talk about the spiritual tools in my next video. I will talk a little bit about what spiritual tools you can use and why they are helpful, and also why they are only tools. So they are not the only way, they're not the path, they are just something that can be helpful for certain people and for certain awakened beings. Okay, so I hope this serves you, and I'm sending you a lot of love, a lot of light, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Please take care, all of you, and I'm sending you many, many blessings.